Alright, Kadena family, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. Let's jump right into today's video. I'm going to be talking about how KDA is performing against the US dollar. We're going to be wrapping things up with how Kadena is performing against Bitcoin as always. Now, before we start the video, it's been a little while since I did make my last update on KDA. In fact, I made an update on this 6 days ago, talking about how, in my opinion, KDA was going down to $1. This was a macro or mid to macro price prediction. So obviously, I wasn't saying this is going to happen overnight or in the next week or even the next 2 weeks. I specifically said this is something to look over for at least the next few weeks, but coming over into the next month or two. And it seems like we have started the breakdown. Now, just one more caveat before we do start the video. You might have been wondering, if you're already subbed to my channel, where has Cowboy been? Because he used to cover KDA a lot more, and now he hasn't updated in 6 days. But the matter of the fact is, I just didn't want to waste your time. I made this video roundabout here, and we literally did nothing but go sideways within this triangle. So when we're going sideways, I don't want to make a video just for the sake of it, just to milk another video out of you guys. If we're going sideways and there's nothing to update, then I simply will just wait until there's something we can talk about. With that being said, there is now something happening in the charts that we can talk about. We've had a massive increase in the selling volume step in the past 24 hours or so. You can see basically since Bitcoin started capitulating, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin in a second, because what we're seeing is really not good, and this is probably, well, this is definitely going to bleed over into KDA in my opinion. But we've started the breakdown. We broke down from once again, one of your last lines in the sand. This was the previous all-time high in May 2021. Bear in mind, I'm not saying the all-time high. This was the all-time high back in May. Since then, we obviously came up, made a massive rampage, but we did capitulate below this high, which is not good, and now we're starting to come down. So just like I predicted in the last video, I said, in my opinion, KDA was going to come down about another 48%. At least another 48% down to $1. So far, we've come down about 14% or so, and this has specifically been in the past 24 hours, which, once again, this is why I didn't update for the past 5 days apart from today, because we were just going sideways until today when we started capitulating. So I do think the direction we should be looking for is all the way back down here. We've basically bounced on the low, and at this point you would really need to see this hold, because if we remove all the drawings here from the candle body close up to the high, you've capitulated below the 786, you capitulated below all the moving averages, and you're coming down to your last line in the sand at $1.60, which in my opinion is not going to hold, because I believe that Bitcoin is going to come down for another leg to the downside. Specifically, I think Bitcoin's coming down to the 200-week moving average at 23,000. I don't want to make a whole TA video about why I think Bitcoin's going down to 23,000. If you want to know my thoughts on Bitcoin, this is mainly a Bitcoin-centered channel. I cover Bitcoin every day. I do not cover a specific set of altcoins every day, because Bitcoin is king, and especially while we're in these bearish phases, we should definitely be looking at how Bitcoin is performing, and we should be looking at how altcoins are performing against Bitcoin. But while we're talking about the USD pair on Kadena, we are now gearing up for this momentum shift. On the daily time frame, we haven't started to trickle over into the light red on the squeeze mon, which is our momentum indicator. This tells us what momentum the trend is going in and where it's likely to continue going down. So at this moment in time, you can see, bearish trend, and a couple of times we tried to reset the momentum, but now we're gearing up for another leg to the downside. And I think this one is going to be very nasty. So keep your eyes on $1.60. You can't see it on the 4-hourly time frame. Bear in mind, when we just came over to the daily time frame, you saw that I drew this fib from the low here up to the high in terms of the candle body close on the daily. You can move it over if you want to the 4-hourly time frame. I'm less interested in doing it this way, but nonetheless, like I said, this is the low that I consider having the highest level of effect, which is the candle body closed. And we're gearing up for a momentum shift down into this level. We're getting pinged constantly on the 4-hourly EMAs, and this is something that I've been reporting on for KDA since we were all the way up here at $6. If you've been watching my videos since $6, then $6.50 rather, then congratulations, because we started to ping down from 650, and a lot of people were still bullish here, but I was telling you, the 4-hourly EMAs just flip bearish. Trend is your friend until the end. We're looking at the 4-hourly EMA ribbons, and while we keep on battering into these EMA ribbons, you can see failed move above them, M pattern breaking back down, until we solidly have a flip above these EMA ribbons, then the trend is your friend until the end. It's really not complicated. The more you sit on the sideline and wait for Kadena to come down, the cheaper the price is. And that does not mean that we're never going to buy KDA. This doesn't mean that we're never going to trade KDA. In fact, I've been very adamant in every video, while I am very, very bearish on the KDA price, because there's no easy way to say this. The chart looks like dog shit. I've been saying this since $6.50, but I do believe this coin is going to perform well at some point in time. We do need to wait for the momentum shift though. And I've been talking about that since $6.50, and people have been saying, you know, I'm not going to listen. I'm going to buy the dip, you know, at $3.50. I'm going to buy it at $1, you know, $2, all these different levels. But the fact of the matter is it's going to get a lot cheaper until we flip the EMA ribbon. So I'm sitting on the sideline. I'm waiting for the EMA ribbons to flip. Until that happens, I'm not interested whatsoever. And even on the 1 hourly time frame, we've recently got battered against it, like literally 1 hour ago, and we've started to come down now. So basically 45 minutes ago, we had our close all the way up here, and since then we've started to move down. So it's not looking good for KDA. I did just want to make a quick update letting you know that my opinions have not changed, and we're still coming down to these lower targets. Now, there are a few other things that we do need to keep our eyes on, because we did have a plethora of price targets. Now, number one, we had this asymmetrical triangle pattern. You can see if I delete this red line, you'll actually see that, you know, I've got this because the asymmetrical triangle is right here, drawing it from here to where we just had it down here. The price target of this is perfectly sitting at 90 cents, which is why I've got this green support range down here. If you're new to my channel, once again, welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy the content, but $1 is the psychological level that I think we're coming down to. This is my minimum conservative price target. The next level down is this 3.618 Fibonacci down here at 90 cents. You can also see the asymmetrical triangle breakdown would be at 90 cents. If we zoom out, if you're interested in what Fibonacci this is, you can see the 3.618 Fibonacci once again down here, encompassing both that level and the asymmetrical triangle breakdown. And then the next level down is a range of targets. You've got a 1.618 down here, which, by the way, I do mark my fibs as orange if you are new to the channel, but the reason I have this as green is because we actually have a support level all the way back here. This was resistance, resistance, flip support, 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 resistance, 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 well, I mean, we flipped it as support here and we kind of lollygagged into it, and then as we flipped it as support, we went on a massive rally. You got a 1.618 down here as well, so you've got a massive range of reasons in which I believe is going to allow the price to be magnetized to at least $1. Bear in mind, I'm very comfortable saying we're coming down to $1 at this period in time, but do not be surprised if we do come down to 80 cents. This is also one of my predictions. Squeeze Mom massively heading to the downside. Volume is pretty flat right now, but I think we're going to start gearing up bearish volume and bearish momentum once Bitcoin starts putting in daily candle body closes below 28,500. And it's looking pretty shaky right now. We're starting to move down, so be very cautious. The Squeeze Mom on Bitcoin as well is literally about to head over into the bearish side of things. And you might be wondering, if this is your first time on my channel, why is this guy talking about Bitcoin? I do not care about Bitcoin. I only want to know what KDA is going to do. I completely understand if that is your perspective, but nonetheless, KDA follows Bitcoin. Bitcoin is outperforming altcoins. We can see that because if we come over to what KDA is doing against Bitcoin, so this is a different chart. This is not KDA performing against the US dollar anymore. This is KDA divided by Bitcoin. So in other words, we're seeing how Kadena is performing against Bitcoin, and you can see it's doing the same as the US dollar. It's massively underperforming against Bitcoin. Why is this massively underperforming against Bitcoin? As I've been saying in all of my videos, the Bitcoin dominance is on a rampage to the upside right now. While the Bitcoin dominance is continuing to move up, Bitcoin will outperform altcoins. So once again, you might be wondering, how does this affect KDA? So we know that Bitcoin outperforms altcoins. What do you think is going to happen if Bitcoin comes down to my price target on the 200-week moving average at 23,000, which is a 20% drop from where we are right now? Well, what you can expect is the Bitcoin price to go down, the Bitcoin dominance to go up, meaning Bitcoin will outperform altcoins. And if Bitcoin's outperforming Kadena while it's moving down 20%, what do you think is going to happen to Kadena? Kadena is going to move down a lot more than 20%, which is why we look at how Kadena is performing against Bitcoin. We look at how Bitcoin's performing and we look at the Bitcoin dominance. This is how I like to do my channel. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like looking at external charts and how they affect these markets, but this is what I like to do, at least. Nonetheless, from where we are now, this would be about a 40% drop down to $1, which kind of perfectly lines up. You know, Bitcoin drops 20%, maybe Kadena will drop 40%. More likely, if Bitcoin drops 20%, in my opinion, Kadena is probably likely to drop a lot more than 40. We could come down 52% down to 79 cents, or approximately 80 cents. Let's call it 80 cents. So that is really all I've got for the USD pair. Bear in mind, we haven't started moving down too much since I made this prediction. We have dropped 14% since then, which is great. But Kadena against Bitcoin is starting to gear up as well. You can see 786, massive capitulation below this. Macro market structure is bearish. A lot of volume coming in over on Bittrex on the KDA Bitcoin pair, meaning people are either selling their Kadena for Bitcoin, people are shorting Kadena on, you know, futures markets, but nonetheless, it's just not good. So once again, for Kadena against Bitcoin specifically, I was predicting a 54% drop against Bitcoin, which from where we are now would be a 50% drop, which if this comes into fruition would line up with a, well, we'd actually drop harder than this. So you could expect lower than 80 cents. So, you know, bear in mind, at this moment in time, I'm very comfortable calling $1, but do not be surprised if we come down to 80 cents. And if we do not hold 80%, we can really, really get slaughtered. We could even come down to 45 cents. Potentially lower, potentially down to the lows here at 30 cents. I'm telling you, you know, I was here in the 2018 bear market, and when everyone and their nan says altcoins are cheap, now is the time to DCA because altcoins are down 80%, they go down another 50%. It just is how it is. People probably will not call the bottom on this. Keep your eyes on the Bitcoin dominance. If this continues to head up, which in my opinion it will, I think this is heading up to 60%. If this continues to head up, you are going to watch KDA get wrecked against the US dollar, but more specifically, much more importantly, you're going to see it get battered against the Bitcoin pair. So that is basically all I've got today. Remember, Bitcoin is king. These altcoins are great, but in my opinion, I only trade these altcoins to accumulate more Bitcoin. This is my trading plan. Obviously, everyone's going to have a different trading plan. I've been also telling you I'm not a DCAer. Everyone has a different trading plan. A lot of people think it's a good idea to DCA altcoins. I've been very adamant since KDA was $6.50 that if you're DCAing this, you're probably going to get wrecked. And that is exactly what's been happening. We're trickling down into new lows. Once we capitulate below the candle body closes at $1.60, expect to move down to $1.34, which is the lows down here. After $1.34, you can see we had this big M pattern price target, which is this shorter move. After we come down there, the next level down is 117 and then $1. So bear in mind, I've just mentioned a lot of price targets. My price target is $1. But why I say these price targets is because don't be surprised if we come down to 116, have a bounce, come down to $1, have a bounce, come down to 90, trickle down to 80. This is kind of what I see playing out over time, but it can happen very, very fast. We can go like this if Bitcoin decides that it wants to go to 25,000 tomorrow. So be super, super cautious. $1 is a conservative target. All I've got for you today for KDA, as always, not financial advice. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found value in today's content. As always, Cowboy out. Peace.